I am unashamed. What about you?
Welcome back to Unashamed. We have it's a new podcast, but we've been so male centric in the last podcast. Now we have feminized by bringing Missy in. Welcome, Missy, to the we were calling it the high testosterone podcast. Not necessarily. I don't know. Jase probably doesn't get any blood test. I know what my levels are because I do the yearly check.
I wanted to even ask, what is the true definition
you didn't even know what that meant.
Of testosterone?
Yeah.
It's a blood test?
They can tell you from a blood test.
Well, guess what? I take testosterone.
Really?
Yes.
No wonder you're the leader of this
I'm really confused.
Well,
I do because through menopause, they check my blood levels and told me what all I needed to be on. And I think her exact words were, "We're going to get you feeling like you're back in your 20s." And I was like, not so sure that's possible, but it's pretty close. I'm going to tell you. Oh,
it's
yeah.
good.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so the urology people that I go see that keep check on this stuff for me, I'm like, do you just take it if it gets low as a man? Because a lot of times in men you get lower too. And she said, well, the problem is if you start taking it as a man, then your body will quit producing it at all. I said, well, I don't like the sound of that. And I said, what do I do? And she said, well, you need to start working out. And I said, oh.
Well, Jase, you have that covered.
Yeah, well, you need a catalyst. Well, I don't know.
But now I have been. So now that I've lost the weight, I feel better. So I'm working out again and doing some weight. So I'm doing it naturally, which is much better. So.
I mean, I think what I do, these people like Jay, I told him what I do, and he's like, so I don't even think they view that as working out. I mean, I do a lot of stretching and a lot of jumping and a lot because
you're swimming.
Well, the older you
swimming,
you have to work out smarter. I mean, I know I say that, and there's probably people out there older than me that just throw weight around. But I mean, as we begin to wear out a little bit, we do have to work out a little smarter. I'm smarter than I was when I was 25.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
if you want to do some things in life, I like to play golf, which I've taken years off with, and that was detrimental to my golf game. But if you go play 2 or 3 days, in a row, you can't get up out of bed. So you have to have because your body, I mean, have you ever seen the Senior Tour, Al? Have you ever watched that? Which I don't know why you would.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I was going to say, do they still air this?
No, here's what's fascinating. No,
they ride in carts.
They ride in carts. But look, the whole Unashamed Nation should watch this. Don't think about the golf. Don't watch it. Just look at how many appliances they have on their body. Look, there's braces and sleeves, and there's all kind of things. It looks like
because they've spent their life playing golf every single day.
It looks like a commercial for all these.
Like an orthopedic clinic had a stampede.
They're not sitting home doing nothing. They're doing it, and it's not stopping them. They're just using all of these extras to make them feel good and make them feel better.
I think it's keeping their body in one piece. Because what would make the ratings go up?
They're one step away from being RoboCop. That's what I mean.
What would make the ratings go up if the guy swings and his arm falls off? You're like, oh, whoa. People come out there with the little stretchers.
All of a sudden, it's just flopping around.
I mean, I'm like, well, that's why I realized. I just saw that one day.
And Jase, we're now senior golfers.
I'm officially
when you hit
senior
50
golfer.
Is the crossover in golf.
Okay.
So I thought I might need to do some stretching.
Stretching
because I don't want to look like that with just wearing all these appliances.
You don't look like that. I'm going to brag on him because he does work out in our bedroom at home with just a few weights and some stretching and stuff like that. But now he's been swimming. Because it stretches his back muscles, and we're spending a lot of time in the pool with AK, little man these days too. But now you got a tan. So you have a tan and you're muscular. I'm just saying, you're fit. You're fit.
Oh, we know. The other day Zach was in North Carolina and I was in Gulf Shores, so Jase was here. And for some reason, he had to change shirts in between podcasts or something. And so we all got the full view. We was like, look at Jase is going shirtless for the podcast.
I didn't realize. I mean, I'm like, the producer threw me a shirt, said, put that on for this commercial, and I was looking around. I thought, well, if this is where it has to happen, and then I didn't realize they're watching me. And then
So
all
it
of
was
a
like,
sudden,
this
I
is
felt,
all front and center.
what do you call it? I felt
Insecure.
yeah, I felt insecure. I was like, well, this is sorry.
I
This,
just thought it was a bold move. It was pretty good. I might do it now. I wouldn't have done it a year ago.
Yeah, you should do it now.
So Dad used to do that. We go in the baptistry changing room and somebody's getting baptized. And so Dad would be like, now we have waiters and stuff that you could put on, but in the old days, you just would get into something that was there to wear to baptize people at the church building. And Dad would look around and he'd say, we're all men here. And he would just strip down, just butt naked. And it was so awkward. You're
it was
at
a
church.
jumpsuit. It's a jumpsuit you have to put
Yeah,
on.
right.
You have to.
You have
Well,
to. But it was like, oh,
he
do
did
we
that in
look? What do we do? It was
he
so
actually
awkward.
did that in my presence one day in there, and I said, Phil, that's why these stalls.
changing
Yeah,
room.
you close that. That's a private thing.
You know what he said? He was like, hey, are we men? God made you a man. So
But
between
he grew
that,
up in locker rooms because he played sports his whole life in college, and men don't think as much
But
about it.
if there's a rule there, he's going to break it.
Yeah.
So that's just what's going to happen.
well, really,
He would
Holly,
always lead in, we're all men here. And then I knew what was coming, so I would turn and look away. It's not something you want to see every
I hate
day.
to bring this up, but in Hollywood, there's no shame or there's no changing rooms, and you get used to that
Yeah.
because you do some scenes that they will then depict as the next day, so you have to change
Right,
clothes.
all
When
the
you're out
time.
in the wood, there's nowhere to change clothes.
Yeah.
I just change them. I mean, it took
Well,
it
I
took-
don't. So
Well,
they're
but-
not sticking their hand down my shirt to put the microphone. I'm like, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm saying we're men. We're out there. We do it. I'll have to do it today. You know, you bring a different clothes.
I'm the same way. I mean, I
Yeah.
just changed right over here.
Well,
I haven't done it on camera
I've
yet.
shared this story before, but we did a commercial at the Civic Center. Me and for the Super Bowl in a regional way, because then I was watching the Super Bowl thinking I'm fixed to be on a Super Bowl commercial, and it never showed up. And they paid me a substantial amount of money to do that. Me
Yeah.
and Willie and Cy spent all day at the Civic Center, and the commercial was like 15 seconds. And we were there all day.
Oh, yeah.
It was mainly blue screen. We're
it
up on the-
did play, just not in our region.
yeah, not in our
Oh, it
region.
played
It was so
somewhere else.
disappointing, you know. But what I'm saying is, when I walked in, there was no special room, and there was this Russian accent woman, big woman, older woman, and she handed me my wardrobe. Well, I was looking around, like looking for a place to change, because there were just people everywhere. There was no rooms. Because they had taken the Civic Center, like where you would like sit at a concert, and that was
Studio.
The set.
That was
set.
there was nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and she went, "Off with the pants." And I was
In a
just
Russian
like,
accent.
oh, I was thinking, at least I have my underwear on. You know what I mean?
I mean, what if you've gone commando?
I turned around and squeamishly got down to my underwear and changed in front of people walking by, and I thought, I guess this is Hollywood. This is the hand I'm dealt here. They're paying me to do this, so that's what I did. But I don't know. It kind of changed me after that. I was like, no one cares here.
So you said that about looking for it. It reminded me. So I did a cameo in a movie that a guy I had met. I can't remember where I met him initially. I think I met him in something with Dad somewhere doing a movie or something. And so he did his own movie, and he's trying to get people like with high social media followers to just do little cameos in the movie. So I had this little small role in this movie, and it's called Roe v. Wade. So it was about pro-life, which I'm all about. And so there's a scene. So I'm like one scene I'm in with other actors. I only had one line, but I was so nervous about it, you know. But I pulled it off. But then there was a scene that was going to be at the end of the movie where my character, the person I'm playing, gets murdered, because this is a all real life story. And so it was a death scene. And I was so excited because it was like, I mean, you know, to get to be in a movie, but to get killed in a movie.
At what point did you realize you're not an actor and acting like you're dying?
When I had to get with real actors and like say something, I was so nervous. I was so scared. But now the dying part was easy because it was just me out in the field.
I need to watch this somewhere.
Wait till you hear the whole story. So Carly's with me. She's my little acting coach, and she went with me to this shoot because it was like 2 hours south of here. So those two filmed around Baton Rouge, and so they squibbed me, is what they call it. So I had these blood packets under my shirt. And there's a guy there just off camera, and he's got these little charges. Of course, they're like, "Do you have heart problems?" I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, well, so it is a charge.
So I got out of the health insurance game a while back when I became self-employed. I got on the exchange to get care for my family, and it was insane of how expensive it was with a high dollar deductible plan. And I think I was going to be 30, 40 grand in the hole before I got any coverage. It's no secret, guys. The American healthcare system is a mess right now. In fact, over 110 million people don't have health insurance, and 100 million are buried in medical debt. Traditional health insurance is too expensive, it's too confusing, and it's often more of a headache than it is a help. But believers have a simpler option. Christian Healthcare Ministries comes in at half the cost. Al and Jase make fun of me for wanting to save money all the time, but CHM, it's a money saver, and it's a money saver I can get behind. CHM is a ministry first, and I love that because what happens is believers across the country, they chip in each month to help each other's eligible medical bills. And it's not just financial help either. You also get spiritual support from other Christians. And because CHM isn't insurance, you're not restricted to just a few doctors and hospitals that are in your network. You can choose from the ones that you trust with no middlemen saying otherwise. To date, they've shared over $12 billion in medical bills. To me, it's a win-win. You can save money, stay true to your faith, and stop paying into a broken system. So ditch your traditional health insurance. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/unashamed. That's chministries.org/unashamed. chministries.org/unashamed.
So anyway, this guy shoots me. We do the scene. I'm falling just right and all this stuff.
So were they coaching you on this?
Yeah, they tell you what to do, and so, but it's like there's no lines or anything. Like this guy just walks up and shoots me, but the things go off, the blood goes everywhere. But he said we only got 2 of these, so like we got to nail this thing. But we did it one take, so I was happy. Well, so then I get the trailer of the movie. The movie's about to come out. And I see it trailers are like this, but I see the deaths. I see me get shot. So I'm so excited. I thought, it made the movie because movies are. And so we screen it at the church. So I get up and I'm telling about the movie, and there's like 300 people at our church. They're going to watch this movie. And I'm like, no, at the end, just be looking because there's something special. I set the whole thing up, Don't tell them I'm getting shot. So we watch the movie, and the scene is in the middle of the movie of my line, but we get to the end, and we're getting to the end, and then it ends. And the credits are starting, and they never had the death scene. So then I kept thinking, well, I guess maybe they're going to do it like Dad's movie where it just pops up somewhere. I'm hoping now because I've told people this is happening. I saw it in the trailer. Never happened. Never made it.
You never made the cut.
Never made the cut. And so I was so then I got to do the walk of shame back up to the church and say, well, the death scene didn't materialize. You never know. And I was so embarrassed. And then so I called the guy, and he was doing another showing for it that night. He said, we screened the things, and it was in the movie. I was so excited about it. It was my Oliver Stone moment. He said, but it just, people were confused by it. It didn't make sense to some audience. So they cut it. It was the last cut.
So you died and no one ever knew.
No, it was the death that no one saw except for me. But anyway.
Wow.
So, all right. I was glad you came to Unashamed. We're done. No, so I don't know what made me. It made me think of that because you said that anticipating the thing that didn't happen. So that's what happened to me.
Well, Missy and I want to announce we're fixed to do, I think, more than one. We're going to do
2.
We're going to do 2 events. Speaking of being nervous.
Jase is doing a lot of pronouncements now, Missy. He pronounced that he was never going to catch any more frogs. So
we're gonna do an event together. So I know that in the past that didn't go too well.
Well, the one time I heard
it did not.
the one time you told about the event, it sounded like a disaster because he never
it
let
was-
you talk. Is that what happened?
Well, he wouldn't
Welcome
let me
to the
talk.
Unashamed
and then when I
podcast, Missy.
finally got to talk, he went, "No, that's not right." On stage in front of thousands of people. And I wasn't even supposed to be there. It was the beginning of Duck Dynasty. I booked the event for him. It's back when I was booking all the events for all everybody.
yeah.
And we got there because I would travel with him. And the main pastor there said, "Well, you come up on stage too. Everybody knows who you are now too. So come up on stage." I was like, "No." He's like, "Yeah, come on." I was like, "You were like, come on, babe. It'll be great."
So you're being goaded in front of the audience.
And it was 4 times at the same church. Saturday night and 3 on Sunday.
Ooh.
I did not come back on Sunday.
You weren't going to go up again.
No.
She got caught up on her sleep.
So now Bonnie's like, okay, we have these, 2 different people that want to have both of you speak. And I said, no.
Well, babe, let me throw myself under the bus. You know how you do something
This was
together?
like 13 years ago. The last time we spoke
This
together.
was spontaneous. It happened. I did go to her. I shouldn't have. And then, how
Really?
after you do something, because that was kind of crazy. It was just like, yeah, come on up. She comes up. And then after it was over, I was like, well, I think that went pretty good. And she wasn't speaking to me as we were going to the car. We had a car waiting for us to, get out of there. And she was just nothing. I was like, boy, she just took that in stride. No big deal. She don't even want to talk about it. So then we got in the car. She waited till we got in the car. And then I was like, what'd you think? And she said, can I talk now?
I don't remember that.
It was like, oh, can I talk now? I thought,
Which that gave you her.
I was oblivious. I thought that went pretty good. So based on that, we're now.
So y'all have rebranded.
No, we've gone through a lot of difficulty, especially the past couple of years, and so maybe we've matured, and we said yes to do a joint event.
Yeah.
And so, Missy, pull that up on your phone because I can't remember the details, but I do remember the name of the city because I thought, oh my,
Hold on.
Missy and I, for the first time, are going to do an event together. And the name of the city is Warsaw. What could go wrong?
Is it
Let's
Poland?
do a marriage. Let's do a
There's
marriage.
a Warsaw in Poland.
Family enrichment over 2 combustible people, me and my wife.
Combustible. Oh my goodness.
It's not in Philadelphia.
And it's in Warsaw.
Okay, it's in Warsaw, Indiana.
Indiana.
Warsaw, Indiana. But I'm sure the war and the saw has nothing to do with
boy.
the
Yes.
city.
Well, it's at Warsaw Community Church. So if you're in that area, come for some type of a show. I don't know exactly what we're doing
What's
yet.
the- what's the date?
Give the
It
date.
is October 21st.
Okay.
And that's right after Cole gets married. So we'll have some things to talk about then. too.
All right.
Cole
Oh,
gets
yeah,
married on the
because that's
18th.
coming up, which is part of the things I wanted you to
October
tell about.
18th, yeah. And so, but it is their Fellowship Missions Annual Night of Hope and Inspiration Banquet.
Yeah.
So go to fellowshipmissions.net. Sound like a commercial.
Yeah.
Fellowshipmissions.net
All right, we do
to
commercials
find
all
that.
the time.
It is a commercial. We'll be there. Come see us. And we hope that you will be filled with hope and inspiration.
I think so. I think they will. We've come a long way, babe.
All right, great.
It'll be interesting. Lisa and I, we speak together a lot, but we had to figure out how to do it well. Because, I preach sometimes with one of our guys here locally, and so I'm used to having a dynamic of another person on stage, but most people don't have that. You just do your own thing. And husband and wife can be tricky. It can be.
Well, my goal is to do more listening than talking.
Well, that should be just
That's
in
biblical.
life.
That's biblical.
You have
Not on
2
stage.
ears. You have 2 ears. You have 1 mouth. Do the math.
That's right.
I have struggled with that since I came to Christ.
Well, it is really hard when you're trying to do that and you are trying to listen, but then you're also trying to think of what you want to say next because, I'm not sure anyone in our family really prepares to the extent that I'm going to follow this script.
Yeah.
We're totally unscripted. we know what we want to say. We know what's in our hearts. We kind of go through it. And if you're like me, I will even, when I go to bed at night, I'm thinking of it. When I wake up, I'm thinking of it. How can I change it, make it better? And then the Holy Spirit comes in and sometimes completely changes everything. So I always want to be open to that.
Yeah.
As well. And I think that's what makes it authentic and transparent and real to people. So
Did you have notes?
like that.
I mean, do you take notes when you speak?
When I speak, I have notes for sure.
Because
I think that's
I don't
my
do,
problem, Al.
Well, I don't do notes
I don't have
in my presentations like around the country, but I do notes every
but you
Sunday.
have it pretty much the same. You
Right,
do the same
exactly,
thing.
which is why I
Yeah.
don't have them. But y'all notice when I preach, I have detailed notes
Yes.
because I have a window of a message I want
Right.
to get out. You know?
That's
so
right.
it's the same for that.
You actually hit on where we're at in the Bible with John 14
Yeah.
because you said you brought up the Holy Spirit. And I think when you go verse by verse, which is encouraged by most biblical pastors,
Yeah.
sometimes you kind of miss the forest for the trees.
You can.
But John 14 all the way through 16 seems to me, Al, that Jesus is introducing that there's going to be this spirit
Oh yeah.
or counselor, advocate.
And none of the other gospels deal with it, which is why it's such an important 3 chapters, because John goes into it so deeply.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the other ones heard Jesus talk about it, but nobody else dedicates that much time to the Holy Spirit as
Jesus
John did.
tells his disciples so many times, I'm going somewhere where you cannot come, but I'm going to be sending someone in my place.
Yes.
And it's just, even though they didn't fully understand it, man, it sure does help me to read it. You know, when I came in today and we were talking about, you know, what is the focus of this podcast today? Usually, you know, well, just life updates, you know, talk about your kids. Like, okay, I really can't right now
Yeah.
because, you know, 4 out of 5 of who I call my kids, complicated already, is that they're going through a lot of things right now.
Yeah.
And they're in a transition period of each of these things that is just not resolved. These issues are not resolved. And so we're really leaning on communication with each other as a family and individual communication with the Lord to help guide us and to comfort us in some of these situations. And so when I was telling y'all, I can't really talk about, you know, certain things. And just going to have to trust us that they're hopefully going to be resolved, and we will be able to at some point, even with little man. But Jase went, well, we're in John 14. And I put my glasses on, and can I read it?
Yeah.
Do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. I'm good. That's good. I'm good. I'm so
Now
good.
we know why you're on the podcast today.
I see Jase has got his feet kicked up on the desk there, showing off his new Brunt workwear boot.
He's comfortable.
We're promoting a boot called Brunt.
Yep.
Because when you grunt, you need some brunt.
Well, you've been grunting. Apparently, it looks like you got a little mud on the boots. Those are the boots, though, that look better with time. You've got the Marins. I think we all got the Marins.
Yep.
Brunt's got exactly the boot that you need. They're not just the most comfortable work boot you'll ever put on. They're also built to last. And Brunt isn't just about boots. They also make heavy-duty work pants, jackets, gear designed to keep you safe and protected no matter what the conditions are. Plus, Brunt offers free shipping, and you can test the boots yourself. If you don't like them, they don't impress you, just send them right back.
I actually got complimented on these yesterday, I think. They said, you look like one of these new age pastors.
Well, they are stylish.
Well, that's why Zach likes them. I thought
do
you would
like
say,
them.
Jase, I'm looking
Yeah.
on the side here. It says they're waterproof. And, you know, a friend of ours says is a bullfrog waterproof, or so Brunts are waterproof. Did you know that?
Well, the deal is Brunt was tired of workwear brands that just were cutting corners, you know. So you work too hard to be stuck out in some uncomfortable boot that doesn't hold up, that doesn't look good. So what they did is they built something better, boots that are insanely comfortable, and I'm telling you they are, and they're built for any job site. And so for a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt when you use the code Unashamed at checkout. Just head on over to bruntworkwear.com, use the code Unashamed, and you are good to go. And after you order, they'll ask you where you heard about Brunt. Do us a favor and tell them that it was from our show, bruntworkwear.com, code Unashamed.
What an amazing promise.
And you throw in, even this, was that yesterday? that we met with that family.
That was Saturday.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
Saturday.
I would love to talk about that, actually.
Yeah, that was. This is really funny. I hope I can share this because now that we're previewing how we're going to do an event together. It was like maybe 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock one, and Missy had a friend over, and we had a little man, and she comes in that house and is like, "There's a family going to be here in
3 minutes.
In 3 minutes." Just picking
I had
up.
swimsuit on. I was throwing clothes on.
Yeah, and I was like, what? Because we had talked about it a day or two before.
I forgot to remind you, and I forgot.
And she forgot.
Yeah.
We forgot. And I mean, it's like she's dealing with this awkward moment of now I have to get my other friend out of here. And we got little man, and they're going to be here. And I mean, I think we pulled it off in 3 minutes.
We did. Yeah. I mean, we did. I just looked like I got out of the pool and put my sweats on. And so, but I love to talk about this because, I've talked about before how through all of these experiences, including Duck Dynasty, including having Mia and trying to find the best care for her, I cannot say no to God. I can't do it because even if I don't want to do what I feel like He's leading me to do, how can I say no? He's been so good and just faithful through every circumstance, even when we cannot see a crack of light. And so when we started the Mia Move Fund in 2014, it was mainly just for monetary reasons because that was our motivation. We didn't have the money to pay for Mia's surgeries with the specialists that she needed.
So we were
And so-
offering that to other people.
Right.
We weren't getting the money.
No, we were
yeah.
offering it to others. And so now it's 11 and a half years of this. And Bonnie has the numbers, but they're just extraordinary, the families that we've helped monetarily and spiritually and emotionally. So when Bonnie calls or texts and says, there is a family local to you that just had a baby born with a cleft, can they come talk to you? And, we're kind of in our own kind of bubble now because we have to be. We can't just let anybody come over to our house and so I'm like, I don't want that to be a deterrent for helping people.
Right.
And so they contacted us while Phil was really going through his hard times. And so we kept putting it off, and they came over Saturday with their precious little baby and his big sister. And it's just amazing how I can look back and think how little I knew about this and how much we know about it now. So we try to help encourage and give insight to what these cleft families are about to go through because it is not a one and done. There's hardly anybody who is a one and done.
Yeah.
It's a tough journey.
Yeah. And in their case was so unusual because they couldn't see that he had a cleft palate until
A day later.
24 hours.
They
It was,
didn't even check.
His lip is fine.
Yeah.
And most of his palate is fine, but back in the back, he has this cleft. And, of course, what's happened, because as they grow, is where all this struggle happens. And so, that now their words were after a couple hours, I guess, they stayed. They were like, we have learned more in these 2 hours. And, of course, they've met with doctors, but it's just when you're not with people who understand this. Of course, we've had so many kids that we've helped, and you're hearing all their stories. And you're connecting all of them with each other, which I think has been the greatest surprise. Mm-hmm. And they felt that.
Yeah.
They now don't feel alone. And, tears of joy. And, of course, we gathered around and prayed with them. And they asked us just question after question after question after question, which is, just think about being a parent. What you're really afraid of is the unknown. But once you get with people who have gone through this, and, of course, with our daughter, it was 16 surgeries.
And they said she will have 4. When she was born, you will have 4 surgeries, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you can't listen to any of that.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part, I think, that we learned. So if we
Because
can
everything
share
is
it,
active and
every child is
changes,
different.
right?
All cleft means is there's a hole somewhere.
Yeah.
And every child's hole is different, So it's not just a a textbook, this is what you will have, even though they will tell every cleft parent, you will have this 100%. This is what's going to happen. No.
Yeah.
No. You're your child's best advocate.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you can tell them things that I think they needed to hear. It's like, because their first surgery's coming up, and I was like, it'll be the worst 2 days of your life. And it scared them, because they were like, well, is he, what about him? I was like, oh no, he's going to handle it way better than you. I'm saying it's the worst 2 days of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're resilient,
Yeah.
but you're going to think, oh, this is absolutely the worst.
Which is so important for you guys to speak into that, though. It's like when Lisa had her surgery, her breast cancer surgery, he said it's going to be the shortest day for her, but the longest day for you. And he was right, because you, as a parent, you have a whole other set of issues than your child has, and yet you've got to deal with that while you're helping them deal with their issues. And I do think, because Jase had just happened when he came up to the house the other day to see Mom, and so he was telling me about it, and I said, Jase, I'm so glad y'all were able to do that, because there's still something powerful. You can be an advocate for something, and certainly because we have a platform, and so you guys have been able to do things at a big level that other people can't do, and that's a blessing. But there is still something when you get the opportunity to just be knee to knee with somebody and share those experiences. And Lisa and I feel the same way. We had a few weeks back, we had a super busy week. I did like 11 podcasts in 1 week, because we were doing the new stuff for Hillsdale and all that. And we were doing some marriage filming as well. So we just had this super tight, busy week. You know how we do, and you got all this stuff lined up. And the couple at church says, we're doing our testimony Thursday night at Reengage. Can y'all come? Y'all been a big part of it. And I'm like, oh. And I said, well, I'll try. I didn't guarantee. And then this other young couple calls and says, we're having problems. And the only night we could meet is Thursday. So it was the same night, and it was the night before we were doing this huge, big thing. And I told Lisa, I was like, you know what? Like you said, I can't say no to God. And so we went, we heard that testimony. It was beautiful. We were so encouraged by it. And then we sat for 2 hours with this couple, and we helped them. And then the next day, instead of being worn out and tired, which was what I was worried about, I was invigorated, because the Holy Spirit had been active and working. And so I think that's what happens when we're open to that and let Him use us. We have that extra strength we didn't know. And so it's interesting, Missy, when this text that says, do not let your hearts be troubled, we made this point when we read that verse. It's the same Greek word that earlier Jesus, it says after He had said this in chapter 13, Jesus was troubled in spirit and testified, I tell you the truth, one of you is going to betray me. Same Greek word.
Al, my dad famously said that we're either duck hunting or we're getting ready to go duck hunting, which is where we're at now. And I've been training the young ewes how to be duck men. Yeah. So it's been quite the eventful
Just since
summer.
we've been sitting here, you've been getting messages and pictures coming from the property on the preparation for duck season.
True.
The conservation of the land. I love it.
Exactly.
Well, now, duck season means it's duck stamp time. Go to duckstamp.com and you'll see the new digital duck stamp that goes right into your phone. It's simple. It works offline. It's ready when the warden shows up. But here's what most folks don't realize. Buying that stamp is one of the most effective ways that you can support real conservation efforts in America. Wetlands, ducks, migratory routes, it all gets protected for our kids and our grandkids to enjoy just like we do. So yeah, it's just a stamp, but it stands for something way bigger.
This goes back to Genesis 1, where we were created to steward God's creation.
Yeah, and it's important that we continue to do that. So I like what these guys
Land and beast.
Yes.
So go to duckstamp.com/unashamed today and be a part of something that matters. That's duckstamp.com/unashamed.
So he's telling them right after he was troubled, same word, about his betrayal, because he's fixing to have to share that.
And that's pretty deep. That's a deep trouble. That's not just feeling anxious about something. That is deep trouble if someone is about to betray you.
And then Jase looked up several other times, and Jesus was this troubled other times. He was when Lazarus died. And so the idea was, we made the point that being troubled, or as you described it, having family members going through a season sometimes and several at the same time, is part of the human condition. And Jesus showed us that. In other words, it's not wrong. He wasn't saying, don't let your hearts be troubled. What are you doing? He just experienced it. He's just telling them, look, I promise you, it's going to have something at a personal level with you. And that's why when you're in the room with somebody, you're providing something because of your experiences. But what we're really saying is it's something bigger.
Yes.
You can get through this. You can do this. And so I think that's why it's so important. And that's what Christianity does. So it can play itself out.
When I looked at their little boy, who was just precious, they had him dressed up like a little fishing shirt. Like he looked like a little mini man. It was just the cutest little thing. And I remember Mia being that small and being so troubled when I looked at her like, how are we going to do this when she's just a few months old? And looking back now, 21, almost 22 years later, I don't want to go through that again. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but I wouldn't change any of that because it made her who she is, and it made us who we are too.
Yeah.
So going through all of those troublesome times helps us to grow that, Romans 5:3-5, that, we do lean on our sufferings and rejoice because they make us a better person.
Yeah.
And now I'm not scared of doing hard things. So when things come up, I don't run from them. I mean, I'd rather not do them. Nobody really likes doing hard things, but I can do them.
Yeah.
And I have that confidence that comes from the Lord. And so I think that both Jase and I can encourage others that, yes, you can do hard things. And it's not because of your demeanor, but it's because of what the Lord can do through you.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't know what to say, but then sometimes you do know what to say.
Yep.
And that's why you're in that position.
Look, I get intimidated, of having to have these conversations because you're like, what are you going to say? You don't know what they're going to be like. But I always say, well, I have the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. And I'm trusting what he's saying here. When he gets to verse 15, he's like, if you love me, you'll obey what I command. Well, he's continually commanding them to be like me, follow my example. And when he gets to the end of John, he's like, as the Father sent me, I'm sending you. And there's always a gulp moment there. You're like, well, wait a minute. Can you imagine? They're like, you want me to be like you?
Mm-hmm. It's like a Moses moment. Like, I'm not qualified. I have a speech impediment. I'm not the right one. I'm shy. I'm an introvert, whatever it is. Yeah. I'm not the right one. And God just keeps saying, oh, yeah.
I've got you right where I need you.
Even though we don't know and don't trust ourselves, he trusts us. And what an amazing gift that is.
Oh, it is. There's no doubt.
Well, then he says, in verse 16, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another counselor. There's that word he keeps using as the Holy Spirit, which is only used 5 times, 4 in John and 1 in 1 John 2, to be with you forever, the Spirit of truth, which that forever jumped out at me. He's not just with you.
He's not coming and going.
Yeah. He's with you forever. Right. Do we grasp that?
Yeah.
And including the bodily resurrection. I told Missy last night, I went in there and I was like, I just got a text from, a sister who's been in the Lord a long time, and she knows her and I know her. I was like, she just asked me, are our bodies going to actually be raised from the dead? And if so, where's that in the Bible? And we were both kind of miffed. So I was like,
don't miss that one.
I got these verses. I'll give you the whole
But it made me remember back to when we were young in our faith, and we were like the only ones talking about that. I remember when that was an epiphany, like, well, we're not going to be spirits floating around up in heaven somewhere. We're actually going to have our literal bodies. And so, then it was the whole thing of we're going to be singing forever, and everybody's like, ugh. I'm like, yes, yes, we get to sing forever.
Well, says the person who signs every email with "blessed sings," right?
Well, I told Missy what I sent. I sent the obvious verses like Romans 8:11.
1 Corinthians 15.
1 Corinthians 15. But that Romans 8:11 I wanted to read. It says, if the Spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you, which is what he's promising here about giving you this Spirit forever in John 14. But back to Romans 8:11. He who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through his Spirit who lives in you. But then I put in there, I told Missy, I sent her text, then I got to thinking about it and thought, I just gave like the technical verses like this. And even later on in Romans 8, I think it's 23, he's like, we await through his Spirit the redemption of our bodies.
Yeah.
I mean,
Amen.
it says that. But then I said, but do this. And it was a thought Missy thought was good last night when I shared it with her. I said, if you go to 1 John 3:2, it says, what we will be has not been made known, yet when he appears, Jesus, we know that we will be like him. And so I said, why don't you go to all the Gospels post-resurrection and look at what Jesus' new body was like? Because he flat out said, remember when they said, you're a ghost? I think it's Luke 24. And he said, look at my hands and my feet. A ghost does not have flesh and bones.
He said, it is me.
Yeah, it's me. And even in Acts 1, right before he leaves, it's like this same man whom you've seen go into heaven will return. Well, what's he still calling? To be a man, you got to be a man. Right. You're a man. Now you're a new man. I said, but read all those verses, and then you will at least get an idea of what your new body is going to be like, because it's going to be like him.
Right.
But anyway, to make that point, it's like he's saying that he'll be with you forever, the Spirit of truth, and you'll get a new body. And then it says, I will not leave you as orphans, verse 18. I will come to you. So it's like, does he mean the Holy Spirit? Which he did.
He did.
And so then later in the chapter, when he says that again, don't be troubled. I think that's in verse 27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. Yeah. I mean, he's declaring you children. He's giving you his Spirit. And I think in those troubled moments, you just have to say, I have the Holy Spirit. Let's just see what happens.
That's exactly right. And you mentioned it, Missy, a minute ago, that a lot of people don't really focus on that aspect of it. And we talked about that when we were in this text, that because they'll say, you'll look at, be at a funeral and a preacher will say, well, this isn't them anymore, meaning their body. And you're like, no, it's still, it's still them. It doesn't have the Spirit.
Yeah.
I mean, it hadn't been energized, but that's still them.
Yeah.
That's important. What was made is important, which is what you get out of 1 Corinthians 15.
So to lead into our last segment, you had another Spirit-led moment, and you went to Washington, D.C., and got to read a book at the Library of Congress.
I did.
Did I get all that right?
You did. Good job.
And because you said the same thing to me that you just said, you said, I didn't want to say no to God. So I did that. And we wanted to have a segment and talk about what you read and who you were with.
Yeah. And we have a guest that's here that is a big part of that as well. So we're going to take a break. When we come back from this break, we'll introduce our guest, and we'll have Missy and he tell that story. So we'll see you in a minute.
So rates are still high, everybody, but look, there's a lot of shaking up going on right now in the Federal Reserve, and a lot of people are anticipating that in the near future rates are going to drop, and it can, when they're high like this, it can make refinancing and purchasing a home feel like it's out of reach. But when they do drop, I want you to be ready for what they call the strike zone. What's the strike zone? It's when the rates drop just enough to get into the place where you needed to be to make your purchase or to refinance your home. And with our friends at Sierra Pacific Mortgage, Andrew and Todd and their team, they're going to get you set up now, and they're going to keep you informed so that you can strike when the time is right. Look, we're talking about guys with 40 years of experience. They really are the experts. They're great Christian men. Love these guys, trust them, and they make it easy because they keep everything in-house. So get pre-qualified today by visiting andrewandtodd.com, and do it now so you can get a spot in the front of the line when the market does drop, and you can get in before the rest of the herd and be ready to strike when the market enters into the strike zone. You guys can save big. And it's also super important that when you're making one of the most important financial decisions of your life, it's good to connect with people who share your same Christian values. And I can tell you, Andrew and Todd are those guys. I met them at a worship event in West Monroe. Love them. They're good people.
So, Zach, I actually had a couple of guys come up to me on the golf course yesterday and say, thank you for hooking me up with Andrew and Todd.
I highly recommend them. Call Andrew Del Rey and Todd Avakian, the guys I trust, and they can help you too. Call 888-888-1172. That's 888-888-1172, or visit andrewandtodd.com. That's andrewandtodd.com.
Trent, I love having Missy on the podcast because about every other time Jase gets intimidated when Missy comes on because she's a fact checker on all of his stories, which is
and he's an embellisher.
He's an embellisher, and so like it makes him
what?
nervous, which I totally love. And so like I will egg it on. Like if we didn't go there, but I had a whole thing to get into about your cast iron skillet breaking his back and all that.
Oh, please.
Oh, you should have heard it.
I heard
It
it
was-
for 3. I finally, after the 3rd day, I was like, I am done hearing about this.
I will say he said, because he said, Missy said, don't throw me under the bus, which he did throw you under the bus,
I'm sure.
but he did bring you out from under the bus because he did
And was it,
then brag
it was
about
with a full pan of homemade cornbread.
That's what did it. Yeah, exactly. The cooking brought you out from under the bus, which I was impressed because it sounded like something my mom would do, to take
Well,
the
hey,
iron skillet
just
all
said-
the way to Utah or wherever y'all
in
went.
Colorado. But I mean, hey, last time when we went to South Carolina, I brought the deep dish. I brought the deep cast iron
Oh, really?
skillet. Yeah, I said, so just be happy that I didn't bring that.
I was
Just brought the
agitated because
thin
I
one.
was going to play golf, and then I injured myself carrying her back.
Because it had a cast iron skillet in it.
It weighed 66 pounds. I had a golf bag with my treasure hunting equipment that weighed 44.
Some of your clothes were in my suitcase.
3
by the-
shirts and a
Oh,
pair of
more
shorts.
than that.
That's 1
More than
pound.
that.
Yeah. I would suggest y'all leave with this on
But
your feet.
I also had seasonings and packet. I brought Phil's seasoning and I
Yeah.
brought the Nicaragua. I mean, the,
Stuff you
the
couldn't
Dominican
get.
seasoning.
Stuff
I
you
had to
couldn't
have
get.
all that.
Yeah.
Babe, you had appliances. She had hair dryers, and
Well,
there
I
was.
don't know what they're going to
like,
have. You got to have that. And I am
6
not an
pairs of
overpacker.
shoes and these clodhoppers and all
I
this
did not
stuff.
have 6 pair of shoes. That is so. I had 6 shoes, 3 pair. That's
Lisa
it.
does this to me, but not with the cooking stuff, but just with the clothes. And I'm like, well, babe, she said, well, I can't decide. I'll decide when I get there. And I was like, decide now. Like,
That's
just,
me. I decided.
You're
the
standing
clothes
here in the
before.
closet. We're making decisions.
Decide
Well, let's
now.
stick with it when you go. I said, we don't need multiple choices when we go. That's just stuff we don't need.
Well, then I packed AK's car seat because Reed and Brighton, they had 3 kids with 3 car seats.
Yeah.
So we rented one when we got there. They were bringing one for Francis, the Duna, and I said, I'll bring AKs. I'll just help you out.
Yeah.
I want y'all to keep wanting to come. This is a big deal to fly cross country with
It
3
is
kids.
with the kids, yeah.
Just
And
it was
so-
the visual. You're like, why is this bag so heavy? I mean, to me, it's like you open your truck and somebody's put a small stove in the back. You're like, what? I mean, it was a skillet.
Okay, how good was the cornbread?
It's fantastic. But then you're like, no wonder it's so heavy. There's a black iron skillet in my bag.
Welcome back to Unashamed. I see Josh is already rolling. We were having a offline story we didn't get to about
Well,
Missy.
that
We should
came up-
have.
that
We should
came up-
have.
yeah.
I need to defend myself.
He
on
did
that.
throw you under the bus on the skillet, but he did pull you out. So
Yes,
it's
I'm
like
sure
Dad
he
used to
did.
say to Mom. He'd say, "Miss Cage, you throw me under the bus," and she said, "I sure did." And she said, "But God pulled you out." So
Well, the cornbread pulled me
the
out.
cornbread pulled you out.
Yes.
So I want to welcome Trent Talbot to
Mm-hmm.
the podcast. Welcome, Trent.
Thank you for having me.
Trent is the CEO of Brave Books, which you hear us talk about a lot on the podcast. First of all, thank you for partnering with us. We love it with a lot of our partners and sponsors because we share such the same values, what you guys are doing. And the fact that Missy has done a book with you guys, Jeff and Jessica has as well, makes it even more special to the family. So just thank you for that.
Yeah, well, the Robertson family is such a great, great ambassador for Brave. You guys, just how honest, open, Christ-centered you are as a family. Family first is we're so happy to partner with you guys.
Well, and I love it. And I always say, a lot of times when we're doing ads for you guys, that brave is just another word for unashamed, and it's one that kids can even get. So I love the
and
concept.
It's subtle. Your books they're kids' books, but it's like subtle.
Yeah.
It seems like our nation, kind of in the background, and the culture.
Yeah.
It doesn't really come out and say that, but there's an island of hope, and
Well, there's Culture the Vulture.
That's
so he's
right.
the bad guy of the story. One of them.
One of them, yeah.
Well, I got a text from one of the producers of Unashamed that said, Trent from Brave Books wants to be on the podcast. I was like, okay, great. I'll be on there. I would love to. I love talking about the books, but how is he in contact with the producers of Unashamed? And Jay said, They're sponsors. I said, I
Did
did
you not know that?
Missy, hand me those books. I have
did
held.
not know.
Jase does Vanna White every time we do that.
I do.
Yeah.
For y'all that have watched the commercials,
Yeah.
I'm over holding the books, doing the little hand.
He displays and does hand
display.
models.
No,
And, yeah.
I'm-
Beautiful.
Oh yeah.
I'm so excited.
Oh yeah.
I
feel
did
like
not know
I'm,
that you did not know that.
No,
I feel like I'm part of the team here, babe.
you are. You are.
One of my lines, Missy, is I said, Jason, you know intimately one of the authors. You know, who is she?
And just to recap, Trent was actually at our house. We were doing promos for my book, Because You're My Family. And they left. They were there for a couple of days. We were doing some videos and some advertising, marketing things. And because my book was coming out in like 3 weeks. And they left. And 2 hours later is when we got the phone call that AK had been born and
wow.
signed over to me.
Yeah.
And thought, what in the world? And I was doing these podcasts and interviews and all these stuff online about this book. And I was like, this is crazy. And even for the next few weeks, I was able to tell the story of welcoming someone in our home that, because Valor's adopted, that was not of our body, and being able to talk about unconditional love and not saying no to God. You know.
Did you cry at any point there?
Well, don't get me started now, but because we'll move on. But that's how our relationship started, and so I've let Trent and Zach kind of be up to date on our story the whole time. Even in Washington, I was backstage, updating Zach on where we are in our story with AK. So, but I love what y'all are doing. I kind of invited myself to Washington.
Oh.
I did.
Well, what did y'all do in Washington?
Well, here's what happens. Trent, they all came to Faith Family Freedom and set up a booth. And Zach, I was like, how's the company doing? What are y'all doing next? And I was just kind of quizzing him. And he said, the Department of Education has invited Brave Books to come and read some of our books at the Library of Congress.
So
for a
awesome.
See You at the Library Day, which is Kirk's kind of deal, Kirk Cameron. And he said, yeah, we're trying to get a couple of more authors to come. And I went, pick me. Like, I would be happy to. And so then y'all started working on it and invited me to come.
Yeah, and it was an incredible event. We had over 250 people show up at the Library of Congress. Over I think 250 other story hours happening across the country for over 10,000 people showing up at libraries across the country to promote wholesome story hours as opposed to some of the stories that you see elsewhere. And it was special. We Michael Knowles was emceeing. It was just a lot of fun. Read some great books, and the kids had a blast.
Yes, they did.
Well, the thing that was so obviously so wonderful about this idea when Missy, Jase told me what Missy was doing, is in the past, because Missy's been on the podcast talking about it, there have been some very controversial happenings of doing the books in libraries and protest, or really people that work in the library treating you terrible. And so the fact that to be invited in and to have something like that
by our government.
By the government, yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes me feel better. I think
Makes me
we're
feel a
hitting
lot better.
nerve here,
But it has to be gratifying to you, Trent, because like you came up with this idea. I mean, you're not just a CEO. You thought of the whole idea, and to now see that come into fruition, where more and more people get exposed to something good, as opposed to just so much trash that's out there. I mean, it has to be gratifying, right?
Yeah. When I was addressing the crowd at the Library of Congress, saw those kids there. Thought back to how it started 3 years ago. If you don't know the backstory of the See You at the Library Day, it started with Kirk Cameron's first kids book with us is a book on the fruits of the Spirit. And we were like, all right, let's do something. We got Kirk Cameron as author. Let's do something fun. And so we tried to do story hours in 52 libraries that had sponsored a drag queen story hour, and all of them shut us down. And we never expected that to happen, but they all said, no, we believe in inclusivity here, so you can't come.
Okay.
And think about that
Yes.
oxymoron,
And
right?
you're literally having books about what we just read in John
Love,
14.
joy,
which
peace,
is all
patience.
over in John 14. Those fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah,
If you know,
Oh, it's
peace I
everywhere.
leave
Yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
joy in your
Yeah.
hearts, hope, love. I mean,
That's not welcome.
No.
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, they all said no, and we partnered with the First Liberty Institute and fought back. We said, hey, this is a violation of our First Amendment, and they backed down. And so we went one by one to all of these libraries across the country and read Kirk's book and some others, and we had thousands of people show up, every single one of them. And then that started this whole movement of like, hey, let's take our libraries back. Let's take some of these public spaces back, and we turn it into a day, a Saturday in August, and then to go from being excluded from all these libraries to now invited to the Library of Congress and have hundreds and hundreds of story hours happening across the country is really cool, because that whole story hour thing, I think in some ways was a wake up call to a lot of people that, man, we're losing this country and we need to do something. And then to see, Brave Books and Kirk fight back and ultimately win. Like they backed down, we stormed their libraries with thousands of people.
Right.
It sort of, I think it was, I don't know. I think it did play a small role in us sort of making this comeback and starting to have some wins.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I think it's boldness, and to your book title, to your company title, it's brave, because we seceded enough territory to the evil one. And look, that's exactly what it is. So you're inclusive enough to have 52 accounts of drag queen or whatever, but we can't just talk about some of the basic tenets that make life better. I mean, even outside of the biblical idea, just the idea, couldn't we use a little more love, joy, and peace? I know I'm sounding like Dad, but I mean, that's exactly, who couldn't use some more of that?
But I really think that's the church's role, is to speak truth to power.
Exactly.
That is the example Jesus laid down for us. And so I appreciate y'all taking up this fight for us. And for
So you got to read? You got to read?
I got real excited about it, because sometimes when I know what's happening or I see the schedule, and again, open to the Holy Spirit, I'm standing backstage and I'm hearing Kirk, who's kind of introducing how it all got started and the foundations of our country, is based on biblical values. And I was like, I told Bonnie, I was like, go get my Bible. Grab my Bible.
Uh-oh, I've seen this look before.
Because I wasn't really planning on it. This is, again, I say this is the mirror image of what God did for us.
Right.
And so I always love to, infer that and talk about Jesus and what he did for us and unconditional love and forgiveness. And this book is just so amazing with that. But I'm at the Library of Congress being invited by the United States government. I'm fixing to read the Bible. I'm going to read the Bible on stage. And it was welcomed.
The ultimate brave book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So anytime that we can, of course, use that opportunity, we do. But just to be able to not have a fear or any anxiety of being booed or hissed at or any, like, I heard amens from the parents in the audience, about Jesus, and and they were all speaking out and just so encouraging that here we are on Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
And there's no protesters outside. There are no rioters. They kept it under wraps for the most part. The director for the Center of Faith was there, and she's amazing. She's really awesome, and she was so excited about this. But she said President Trump literally took that under and put it under the White House, the Center of Faith, and said it was Center of Faith and Neighborhood Partnerships or something like that was the name of the department underneath the Department of Education.
Yeah.
And she told me, President Trump said, drop the last part, keep it Center for Faith. And she said, okay. And then she put this together, which I think was amazing about who is running our country right now.
Yeah. And I think you're right. And Jase even mentioned on the podcast that you guys talking about even what's going on there now with the guard being there and to try to clean up the city and make it a safer, better place. And you felt it, right? Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Karina lives there. Our daughter lives there.
Right.
And so when we first moved her in, we were avoiding certain places. And, Washington Park was full of homeless people, and we were avoiding the loud, crazy drug addict on the street. I'm thinking, I'm leaving my daughter here.
Yeah.
This past weekend, it was beautiful and clean, and there were little pockets of the National Guard. They were not overwhelming.
Yeah.
They were under trees, just standing there. And every time we passed, I would say, thank you for your service. And they were so appreciative and grateful. Have a great weekend, ma'am. It was a wonderful, beautiful weekend. It really
I
was.
love it because Trump was talking about recently. He said, grass. We're going to go grass again. But, I mean, who knows more about grass than me? I got golf courses all over the world. We're going to go grass in our parks again. I was like, only Trump would do that. All right. Well, so we're out of time. But Trent, thank you so much for what you guys do, for what you do for the podcast, but what you're doing for America. Because you're right. The battle doesn't end. I mean, it's evil and good is the two things that are at battle here, and we have to be consistent on the good. We're not saying that people do what they're going to do. It's a free country, but we at least need the space to tell you something better. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you guys are doing. I love it. It's for kids too.
Can you tell us like where we can find the books and subscribe? Because it's a subscription. You get one a month, and they just keep coming.
Yeah, bravebooks.com. If you go bravebooks.com/unashamed, I think you get your book and Jeff and Jessica's book for free when you subscribe. So
check that out.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it's a great deal.
Okay,
It's like
awesome.
grace, babe. It's free.
It's free.
But thank you, Trent. Thank you for coming on. Missy, it's always good to have you on, and appreciate your perspectives today as well. So we'll see you next time on Unashamed. Thanks for listening to the Unashamed podcast. Help us out by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And don't miss an episode by subscribing on YouTube. And be sure to click the little bell and choose all notifications to watch every episode.